think that really is important. It's something we've talked about for many decades. And it's one of the things that attracted me to the party. I was going to say, I'll probably say when Sal gets here, Sal is the person who signed me up to the party a long time ago. It's something we've been talking about pretty much ever since. I didn't think we should have a referendum on the European Union. I was really worried it would be fantastically divisive. I thought we would start tearing the country apart, partly because we'd spent so many decades as a country never talking about the European Union, about the realities of it. Time and time again, when there were elections, European elections, would be fought on issues almost anything other than what Europe was doing. We allowed the myths about Europe to continue for year after year after year, simply saying, let's just ignore them that we know they're wrong, rather than actually challenging them, trying to say what the truth is. And so, frankly, we started campaigning many decades too late. But I didn't think we should have a referendum. As the Member of Parliament, when the Tories tried to push one through in the last couple of years, I was there ready to try to stop it. We managed to stop it in another way, and it didn't happen. We had a referendum, and it was divisive. It was an awful campaign. Almost no matter what side of it you're on, it was an unpleasant, nasty, divisive campaign. I think it's really set this country back a long way. And I think the process we're now going through, the years of working out what does Brexit actually mean, other than Brexit, or Brexit, depending who you are, is a huge distraction from the things that we really ought to be thinking about, the things that we actually care about. And we're going to talk about some of those things here today. But is that actually the thing we need Parliament, government focused on for many, many years? Now, I think we missed a great opportunity in the referendum campaign. If we'd said, vote to remain, and you'll never have to think about the European Union ever again, we would have won comfortably, but we missed that opportunity. And we know how that election was won. We know about 350 million and the pains that we have there. So I'm still really upset, and I think that takes us on to what we can try and do. As I said, for me, it's really at the heart of who I am. The party position is that we should let people have a say on the final decision. And we'll talk a bit about that later on. People sometimes call that a second referendum. It's not really a second referendum. We've already had the second referendum. We had one in the 70s, and some people kept insisting they wanted a second one, and now they want to stop having public votes for a bit because they won that one. I think it is right to give people a say in what happens at the end, because the referendum itself was so confused, something I argued time and time again at the time. There was no clarity on what people would get. Most disabled people, most people with disabilities, voted to leave the European Union. For many of them, it's because they wanted £350 million a week extra for the NHS. And, frankly, I can see why that would be seen as a priority. That's not going to happen. And we knew it was going to be like this. I did a debate in Parliament during the referendum campaign looking at science and research, and the harm that's going to be caused to our universities, I think, is quite clear, our research, our businesses. But there were two people on the other side. Actually, there were three, but two are more interesting. One of them was saying we should leave the European Union because it's fundamentally racist. It makes it easier to bring Germans into this country than Ghanaians or Pakistanis. So his view is we should make it easier for people from the rest of the world to come to the UK. His partner in the debate was arguing that we should have no immigration to the country at all for 5 years. Those are rather different viewpoints. They both think they won the referendum. One of them, and unfortunately I know which one, is going to be bitterly disappointed by the result. So I think it's right to give people a chance to say, one comparison is if you go away on a holiday, you would very rarely say, I'd like to go on holiday, I'll go to a travel agent, take me anywhere you like, I want a holiday. Holiday means holiday, don't care what the cost is, just take me there. Anybody here up for that sort of deal? No, right. Well, one, okay. Even if they get silly the price afterwards. You're braver than I am. I think it's right to give people that say. I'm actually quite confident if that happens, then people will say, hang on, here is the deal, it's rubbish. If they don't, then all right, I'll have lost that one. But I think they will. I think that's worth fighting for. And there's a lot that's worth fighting for as well, and we'll hear from our panel shortly about some of it. So Rod is going to talk about what's happening here in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, the very real effects this is having. Susan's going to talk about the people side of this. What are we doing to people? People who've lived here, who live in Europe, what are we doing about them? Sal will talk about where we are inside Parliament, inside the House of Lords. The one thing I'll say on that before I hand over to Rod is that it's, to my mind, really upsetting that we don't have a proper opposition at the moment. you can think what you like about the Labour Party. You know, I can go into that. I won't right now unless there are questions on it. But now is a time when we needed an opposition. We needed a clear voice. We needed the leader of the opposition not to whip his own party to follow the government into pushing through some of the hardest things that we possibly can have. And I think it's really, personally, just disappointing that we're not seeing that. And it made it quite hard to really fight that fight. Shortly after the referendum campaign, I tweeted that we as Liberal Democrats will continue to campaign for being inside the European Union. And I got a response from somebody saying, "You idiot. That means 52% of the country will never vote for you again." And I said, well, I'll be happy with 48%. You know, to be honest, even 24% across the country I'd settle for, kind of. So I thought that was interesting. It was even better said by a parliamentary colleague of mine that the Conservatives are delivering for the 52%, the Lib Dems are fighting for the 48%, and Labour is fighting for everyone else. Sadly, that's more true than I would like it to be, because there are so many important issues. We've managed to make some progress in the Lords. I fear we're not going to get what we want out of it. You've heard far too much from me, and so now over to Rod. For those of you who don't know, Rod Cantrell, wonderful chap, experienced city councillor here, and our candidate for Mayor of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. That's a new role, and it's going to be really quite important to have somebody who can shape this area, that actually cares about what's going on here, will really think about the transformations that can be made in getting people to be able to afford to live here, getting people to be able to get about, and I think Rod will be fantastic at that. Over to you, Rod.
Thank you, Julian.